It's good to be with you again today on the program. A warm welcome to Health Matters. I am Jomi Otaigbe. On the show today, we'll be talking about healthy living. Now, what does healthy living mean to you? I guess you may need some time to quickly think about that. But while you're trying to figure that out, let's see how the World Health Organization defines health. Health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So what we'll be doing today on the show is to ensure how we are able to put together our physical, social, and mental health, how we can make sure that they are in sync. To take us through what we need to do is a consultant physician with specialization in cardiology, Dr. Olalekan Karim. Thank you so much for being with us. Dr. Karim is of the General Hospital in Ikorodu, Lagos.
Yes.
Doctor, good to have you here.
Hi, it's my pleasure. Thanks.
Okay, so I was asking our viewers, what they think healthy living means. So while we are going to wait for them to join us in the conversation, in the course of this program, as a physician, of course, of many years, what constitutes healthy living?
Well, thank you very much. From the way you have described it, health is a complete physical, social, and psychological well-being, and not just absence of infirmity or disease. Healthy living is all about the ways of life that will ensure that you are healthy at all times and reduces the chances of dying prematurely. That's what constitutes healthy living, a way of life that ensures that you are not prone to diseases and you don't die prematurely.
That's okay. So that seems to be a bit deep. So let's break it down. It's a way of life. So that means it's about the choices that individuals will make. It's about the actions or sometimes inactions.
Yes, thank you very much. It is about the way we live our lives. Is a lifestyle pattern. What you should do, what you should not do, the way you move around, what you consume, your level of physical activity, the number of sleep you have daily, all those things that makes up your life. So it's healthy, the lifestyle pattern that ensures you are free of disease and also ensures you don't die prematurely.
So
that's healthy living.
Is the key word here a pattern?
Lifestyle.
Okay, lifestyle.
Yes.
I guess the pattern will also be there because perhaps sometimes we all miss sleep at some point. So if it's not a regular thing, then it shouldn't give cause for concern, right?
Yeah.
Let's start with nutrition, which is very key. When we talk about nutrition in terms of healthy living, what are the choices that are available for us?
Okay, let me start this way. Nutrition is just one aspect of several others. I hope in this short time we have able to cover all this.
Yes.
So nutrition is one important thing. And I should make this introduction to say that, generally speaking, Nigeria. Previously, we have always known that the cause of death here is majorly infections here and there. But over the last few decades, it's been diseases that are related to lifestyle.
Diseases related to lifestyle.
Yes, that is the main thing now. And it is the same thing world over. If you talk about cardiovascular disease, I'm a cardiologist, so I'll come from that aspect. And when we have this kind of discussion, it is talking about the things that can cause sudden death. And these include this spectrum of disease we call cardiovascular disease includes stroke, what we call heart attack or myocardial infarction, kidney disease, blindness, we call it hypertensive retinopathy or diabetic retinopathy, and other diseases that can affect other blood vessels everywhere in the body. So these are things that cause sudden death. And if you look in where I practice, it's something that we see regularly. Previously, we have always said that, okay, it's for people that are more than 40 years of age. We have seen it across all age groups. As young as 30, people 25, 20 have kidney disease.
So it's a question of lifestyle, what we eat?
Yes, that is where I'm coming from.
Okay.
So it is good to have this background, that this discussion focuses on things that will prevent disease and sudden deaths. So like I said, one of the first important things is the nutrition. Of course, the traditional Nigerian diet is fair, but we have gone Western. So basically, nutrition or diet.
Sorry, before you go on, you
Yes.
said the traditional Nigerian diet is
Yes.
fair. What do you mean by it's
Yeah,
fair?
it focuses more on natural resources, more on
Natural food
natural
stuff.
foods. Yeah, we talk about you take a lot of vegetable, fruits. Majority of our forefathers are farmers. You understand? They eat directly from source. Now we all, most of our diet now is based on processed meals. So going by directly to the question now, what constitutes healthy diets now includes foods that are rich in vegetable that are rich in fruits. Apart from that, we talk about whole grain diets. Grains are what we consume mostly around us. We talk about wheat, rice, beans. These are grains, cereals. But then it should be whole grain. It should not be as refined as we take them now. So when they are whole grain, one, we take a lot of vegetables, fruits. Also, fats, low fat dairy products is also encouraged.
Low fat
Low fat
dairy
dairy product
products.
like milk, it is okay. But then the milk should be the low fat type.
So when we talk about low fat, is it for those that are older or younger people? Because we also want to talk about the nutritional needs for children.
Yes, I'm happy you mentioned that. We're going to look at it even from conception. You see, that's why we'll talk about some aspect of reproductive health. We don't want, because having pregnancy and aborting it is killing a life. It's a kind of disease to the baby that is aborted. So, but for children generally, it should be right from their own breast milk. That's exclusive breastfeeding from the age of birth to age of 6 months. Then they can then mix with a healthy adult diet. And as young, like from that 2 years of age, we should encourage them to live the healthy pattern. You see, for children that are used to taking those junks, as we call them, it is difficult. When we counsel patients, you see somebody will tell you, this is what I've done all my years, for the last 30, 40 years. You're now telling me I should now stop this and this. We are so used to it. Somebody will tell you, I tried this healthy life pattern for 2 weeks ago, I cannot cope with it. So this is how we are encouraging that even the children should be taught the healthy pattern of lifestyle. So what we are talking about applies to both adults and children. So back to the diet discussion. I said fruits, vegetable, low-fat dairy product. I make mention of milk. I said it should be low-fat milk. Of course, the regular full cream milk that we have around has about between 4 to 7% fats. But the low fat, you see, is written on the label. Is that written low fat or 0.1 to 0.5% fat? This is the low fat milk that is encouraged. As a matter of fact, there is a recommendation for that. Once or twice in a day, you can take that if it is low fat type. There are low fat sugar that can be taken. Importantly, when it comes to healthy lifestyle, is salt intake. Salt should be reduced to the barest minimum. We say average adult should take less than 5 grams of salt per day. What is that to all of us? Teaspoon that is leveled is 5 grams of salt.
This leveled teaspoon.
Teaspoon.
So how
of salt.
How are we able to determine, because of course this salt is inside the things that we eat. So
you see, that is where we talk about processed meals, processed foods. They have a lot of salt content, canned food and other processed food. And most of the food that are made with flour, they have a lot of salt. So this is why we have to reduce as much as possible the amount of those that we consume. So basically, our regular diet, that's why I call it traditional one. What diet is going to be swallow, rice. The brown rice is better. Or fada rice is better than the white rice, which is a polished type. You are taking your beans, you are taking other things that we take. But then all this should be in moderate proportion with a lot of vegetable. And at least 2 to 3 portions or serving of fruits daily is what constitutes healthy lifestyle. Importantly, like I said, salt is very important. Taking high intake of salt, anything more than 5 grams per day for an individual is high intake of salt. That can predispose to hypertension. And you see, hypertension is about the baseline of what brings about this sudden death and the rest of them. Hypertension, diabetes, like that. So it is one major thing. Additionally, when we talk about healthy lifestyle and the dietary aspect, we also emphasize reduction in taking sugary drinks or these carbonated drinks. They have they constitute majority of what we consume. You see, Lagos, everywhere in the country, people boast, they are up to tell you that I take about 2-3 bottles of these carbonated drinks almost all the time. But this is a very bad lifestyle. It is better to go on whole all grain, like I said.
What effect can that have if we take too much of carbonated drinks, for instance?
One, predisposition to diabetes. Because it exhausts it makes the pancreas overwork itself. And over time, it can make the person very fat. Of course, you are eating raw energy, which is likely not going to be used.
Is it the same thing as taking too much alcohol too?
Alcohol is different from carbonated drinks. Alcohol, even though the most informed, what has the best of evidence is saying that alcohol should be avoided. In the recent past, we have said that you can take a bottle or two, or a unit or two of alcohol daily. It helps the heart. But then the best now of evidence is pointing to the fact that alcohol is dangerous to health. Avoid it altogether. Completely.
Wow. That would be a tough call for some people watching right now. But, if it has to do with health,
and when I get there now, I'm going to discuss that. Because I was talking about, we are talking about social well-being, psychological well-being, and mental and physical. So since we are talking about the youth as well, both young and old, I have to emphasize, when we talk about alcohol, usually alcohol is addictive. Something you take, you're always going to take. Yes. The same thing, under that, I will talk about substance abuse.
When we come back, we'll talk more about that. Okay. I can't believe we've only touched on, the food, but nutrition is very key when it comes to healthy living. We'll be back in a moment, and it'll be time for you to join us in this conversation. Just stay with us. The program is Health Matters on Channels Television, and we're talking about healthy living. You can join us in this conversation. I asked earlier what you think about healthy living, and if you have any other question, you can join us on 0805-468-3514. The number should be on your screen any moment from now. So, Doctor, before we went on that break, you said we'll talk about substance abuse and, of course, relating more with the youth.
Yeah, since we are discussing healthy living, and we're talking about health being a state of complete social, mental, and physical well-being. So that's why we have to make mention of that. Substance abuse has been a way of life for our youth now. And that is why I just have to mention, when we talked about alcohol, except now we are seeing the best evidences are pointing to the fact that alcohol should be avoided altogether.
So for those who say red wine is good for the heart, they should
because
have
the same quantity that may be good for the heart may affect the kidney, the liver. Because we don't know, there is this gene that metabolizes alcohol. Whether you are the fast acetylator or the slow, you won't know. So it is better to be avoided altogether. Same way, other substances that are abused. These substances, including any form of smoke, anything that is smoked, should be avoided. And that is why I'm saying that note to sound to the youth that all forms of substance abuse, there are various things that are abused now.
All sorts.
Yeah, all sorts. And of course, to be mentally okay, to be physically okay. Where you are intoxicated, the next thing you could be, when we talk about rape, being intoxicated can lead to rape. and the person that is raped may have HIV. Of course, the person will not be living
The
healthy
mental
afterwards.
capacity is
Will be
impaired.
reduced significantly. So this is why this will quickly come up, and it should, the way I've said it.
Okay, let's move on quickly to exercise.
Okay.
You know, it's been said that we should at least have 30 minutes of exercise a day. How significant will that be in terms of healthy living? And then, who should engage in exercise? Because I know, of course, some people may need to still speak with their doctor before going into any physical exercise.
Okay, exercise is part of healthy living, and the exercise should cut across all age and social status. It shouldn't be a thing of because I'm so age. Right from childhood, should live through it. The exercise that is recommended.
The children should be
should be allowed
to play.
yes.
You know, because these days we fear a lot of things, insecurity.
Really?
So don't just stay within the house.
How
do we go around that? If, for instance, if the child still needs to stay indoors, is there anything that they can do to?
Yeah, there are a lot of indoor games or sports, indoor sports that can be do. You see, I have made distinction between games and sports. Game is what you sit down and do. You can play Ludo, you can play all these other electronic games. But then if it is indoor sports, you can be there. You can even cycle around the compound using a bicycle. You can run around the compound. All those can be done. The important exercise is the one that involves the limbs. You have to move the limb, both upper and lower limbs, regularly. I have had a client that said she does exercise. How do you do it? She said, I do wow, wow, wow. Then that is not exercise. This is cardiovascular exercise. The exercise that open blood vessels in the body that will ensure blood pumps around the body and that heart is free of disease. So this exercise, we say moderate exercise. Other times, somebody will tell you, I'm a housewife, I cook, I sweep. This is
I go up the stairs and come back.
Down. This is categorized as light exercise. This is what we want is moderate. Moderate that requires walking briskly.
And perhaps consistent.
And it's consistent. We should have at least 5 times in a week, if it's not every day of the week, at least 5 times in a week. And it should last at least 30 minutes. For it to be meaningful, each session of the exercise, if you cannot have the 30 minutes all together at the same time, a session should not last less than 10 minutes. It's not a matter of I've done 2 minutes now, or when I'm going to work, I only trek for 2 minutes, or I park my car somewhere not too close. It is still good. But then what is going to be optimal is that 30 minutes of moderate exercise. And I've made distinction between moderate and light exercise. I cook, I sweep. It is good. It is not good to be sedentary. Not doing anything at all is sedentary. Sit down all day, that's sedentary. Light exercise is what you do when you just do basic routines. But the moderate that is advised is what you do, biking at between 5 to 9 meters per hour. That's even when using a bike, it must be fast enough. If you are going to walk, walking is also encouraged, which is what I advise most of my own clients.
I was going to talk about, the older people, perhaps from 40, 50. Yeah. Is it advisable to jog or to run?
Okay, jogging and running will now come under vigorous exercise. So what is advised? Walking briskly will not be too much for any category of individual. And that is why we said you can even break into a bout of 10 minutes, and that will be done 3 times a day. So
let's say you do 10 minutes in the morning, 10 in the afternoon, 10 in the evening.
Or 15 minutes, one in the morning, the other in the evening. So exercise is very, very important. And for it to be meaningful, it has to be consistent, 30 minutes a day, and it should be at least 5 times a week.
Who are those that should consult the doctor before they engage in any exercise?
Maybe those that have background cardiac disease should see a doctor. Most elderly people from 60, 65, 70 upwards, they may have one arthritis or the other, knee pains thereabout. So if I walk a short, people that have disease with the heart failure, when they walk a short distance, you see they are tired, they start panting. Such people should see
That's a sign.
It's one of the signs of heart failure. Such people should see the doctors. After, like, when I see my patient with heart failure, I tell them, you will be okay in 3-5 days after taking the appropriate medication, but you should now resume the exercise because the exercise is going to open up blood vessels, makes you even healthier when you do those exercises.
Let's talk about sleep.
And I have to also say that exercise that I've said is independent of weight loss.
Yes, because some people say, I'm slim, I don't need to do any exercise.
Yes, it is. We don't want people to more than, we call something BMI, body mass index, the weight over height squared. For for healthy living, it should be less than 24.9. It should not be up to 25. So for you to have that, you need to lose weight if you're already big. Whether you are big or slim, exercise is independent of that weight. So this is what I'm saying here is that whether you are slim, you are big, exercise, what we have said is what is the least that is required of you every day.
Okay. I think sorry, doctor, we have a caller. Hello, Chinyere.
Hello, madam.
Thank you for joining us. Quickly, let's have your comment or question, or you want to tell us what healthy living means to you.
I want to ask questions.
Go ahead, please. Oh, your TV is on,
please,
so you need to kill the audio.
Brown rice. Yeah, please. Is the rice a different thing, or is it going to just be brown? Is it just brown color?
Okay, thank you, Chinyere. So she wants you mentioned the brown rice earlier,
yeah.
so she's trying to say, is it about the color?
Not necessarily. The round we have commonly around us is the polished one, highly processed. That gives you basically the energy that you need. It doesn't have enough fiber. So the brown rice is a type that is not as refined.
Those ones that called perhaps Abakaliki rice,
yes,
or fada rice.
Yes.
And things.
They have everything there. The bran is there, which constitutes significant part of the fiber, and it gives that healthy diet that we require.
Okay, we're going to go to sleep.
Okay.
Because sleep, there was, I think I listened to someone talking the other day, and he said, the shorter your sleep, the shorter your life. It rang a bell. Yeah. Let's talk about how important that is.
Yeah, it is very important that you have adequate sleep. For an average adult, you talk about sleeping for at least 6 hours, between 6 and 8 hours daily. And at least 4 hours of this should be at a stretch.
Okay.
Yes, you can have 6 hours sleep, then you wake every 2 hours, every 1 hour. It will not give the brain adequate time to be refreshed. So for you to have adequate sleep, for average adults, you need to sleep for at least 6 hours a day. At least.
So, and 4 of that 6 hours,
should be at a stretch.
At a stretch.
Yes.
So you can still break, because I hear some people tell you they cannot afford to stay 6 hours sleeping.
No, it is important. It's part of healthy living. You have to have that time for your body to be relaxed, and so that you are prepared for the next day. So at night, at least 6 hours. The other 2 hours, if you have time during the day, it is okay. Otherwise, the 6 hours of the night should be maintained.
And then we also need to check our blood pressure all the time.
Yeah,
we need to go.
We have to call, because that is my own field. Checking blood pressure regularly, you should check and change what has to be changed about your life. Then you should go after control.
And you said something about COVID too.
Yes, it's part of what we have to discuss. We're talking about healthy lifestyle. Like I said, infection is there in the world generally. And for you to live healthily, you must do everything to prevent infection. So COVID is here with us now. Wearing face masks, social distancing, washing hands regularly is part of healthy living. Because, yes, a lot of people may not die of cardiovascular disease, which is the most important, but then a lot other will not die from infections. And of course, and if you look at the measures to prevent COVID, it almost cuts across other infectious diseases. So this is why it's the most I mentioned that. Additionally, I've also said about reproductive health. Abstaining from sex.
Risky, high-risk behaviors.
Yes. Okay. Avoiding abstinence for those that are not married. Being faithful to your partner.
Avoiding
and using
multiple
sexual partners.
Okay.
And use of condom when need be.
Thank you so much, doctor. Thank you so much. I know there's such a whole lot to talk about healthy living, and of course we'll still be talking about this in the days to come. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your expertise with us this morning. We've been speaking with a consultant physician and cardiologist with the General Hospital Ikorodu, Lagos, Dr. Olalekan Karim. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's the show for today. Thank you so much for being with us. I am Yomi Otaigbe. Do have a blessed day.